In this video, my mom is calling me selfish and lazy because I won't force my daughter to dance. Karen doesn't believe I'm brain damaged and partially blind and gets annoyed when I can no longer communicate. Sharon to the rescue. And nitpick the dress code? I can do that too. My mom is calling me selfish and lazy because I won't force my daughter to dance. My daughter started dance 2 years ago when she was 3. My mom and sister got in her head while on a sleepover about being a ballerina, how my niece does dance and how adorable she would look in pretty dresses. My daughter loves dresses and my niece, so she agreed to do it, without my consent. When I found out, my daughter seemed so excited, so I gave in. The dance school does classes for jazz, ballet, and tap for the little kids, and she really wanted to do ballet, so I signed her up. The instructor looked at me and said if I want her to do ballet, she has to do jazz too. Whatever. She could wear her ballet shoes for jazz, so it's not like I had to get a whole other outfit. 3 weeks in and she hates jazz, loves ballet, but when it's time for jazz, she starts crying and wants to go home. I try to pull her out of jazz and only do ballet, but was again told she can't do just ballet, so she either needs to suck it up or quit completely. She was 3. My mom somehow convinced her to continue dancing while on yet another sleepover, and everything was fine until it came time for the mid-year concert. She saw her pretty dresses and was ecstatic until it was time for her hair and makeup. She kicked up a huge fuss about it, but was fine when we finally got home after 6 hours and I was able to wash that shit off. This all happened again at the end of the year where she got a trophy for perfect attendance. 2020 was similar with dance classes going to Zoom in March. Although around Mayish, she said she didn't want to dance anymore. She hated being told what to do, wanted to make up her own dances instead. Typical 4-year-old stuff. I told her if she could make it to the mid-year concert, she could quit after just so they wouldn't have to rearrange the dancers so close to the concert time, which she agreed to. She was super happy leading up to the concert because she knew she wouldn't be back. However, on yet another sleepover with Nanny, she was again convinced to continue so she could get her trophy at the end of the year. She had a somewhat miserable July to November, still saying how she didn't want to do it, but wanted Nanny to be happy and see her get her trophy. Every week my daughter complained about going and my mom believed that I was putting it in my daughter's head that dance was horrible and that I didn't want to take her / couldn't afford it. Blaming me for my daughter not wanting to do something. In front of my mom, I point blank asked my daughter if she really wanted to do dance, and she said no, she didn't like it, she wants to do her own thing, etc. Apparently, that wasn't good enough. End of the year concert comes around and again she's excited to be done with it all. I tell the instructors not to reserve a spot for my daughter for next year, 2021, since she won't be back and they were a little pissed, but whatever. Concert is over, trophies handed out, time to head home. Sweet, no more dance. I messaged the instructor mid-January reminding her not to save us a spot. She wrote back, but she already signed up for the year. Your mother told me last year you wanted her to keep dancing. Nope. Don't save us a spot, she's not coming. I then called my mom, me. Why did you sign up my daughter for dance without talking to me first? We've already talked about this, she doesn't want to go. Mom, nonsense. She's 5, she doesn't know what she wants. Besides, she looks so adorable in those cute costumes and makeup. Me, she doesn't want to go. She's been complaining about it for the last 8 months. The only reason she finished the year was to make you happy. Mom, you're just saying that because you can't be bothered getting off your lazy ass to take her. Every girl wants to be a ballerina. Why are you trying to take this away from her? You're being selfish. Me, she doesn't want to go and I'm not going to force her. I've already let instructor know she's not going back and to not sign her up without my permission next time, if she ever decides to start dancing again. She continued to berate me a while longer before I finally hung up on her. She then called my sister who tried guilt-tripping me into forcing my daughter to dance. It's not gonna happen until she wants to. I'll still take her to the concerts to see my niece perform, but that's it. Karen doesn't believe I'm brain damaged and partially blind and gets annoyed when I can no longer communicate. Sharon to the rescue. This happened a while ago, in the good old days before the world turned to poop. I'm a 29-year-old incomplete quadriplegic with a severe acquired brain injury. My spinal cord injury is obvious as I'm in a wheelchair, but my brain injury isn't obvious to most people as I can communicate normally in most situations. I have damage to the temporal lobe and the optic nerve in my brain, which has affected my sight, and the damage to the temporal lobe affects general thought process, but I can easily manage doing day-to-day tasks. The outside half of my right eye is blind and I have double vision from my lazy eye, which gets worse when I'm stressed. But when I'm stressed or have too much audio and physical stimulation, my brain switches off, making it hard for me to communicate and harder for me to see. This doesn't happen very often, but when I'm stressed or having a bad migraine, which I get often, my vision gets extremely blurred and I find it hard to see anything in front of me. Now, on with the story. One day, when I was outside shopping, I came across a Karen in the wild. I heard someone far behind me muttering something I couldn't make out, which was followed by an "excuse me." There was enough room beside me for a trolley to get past me, and she sounded far enough away that I didn't think she was talking to me, so I continued what I was doing. A minute later, I heard her say "excuse me" again, but this time louder and closer, so I turned to ask her if she needed anything. Karen, about time. I've been trying to get your attention for the past 5 minutes. Me, you were trying to get my attention from the back of my head? Last time I checked, my eyes aren't there. I use sarcasm as a way to calm myself, but saying that to a Karen wasn't the best idea. Karen, don't you get smart with me. I was waving my hand to your side and you were ignoring me. Me, oh, I'm half blind in one eye. If you were waving at me on that side, I couldn't see you. Karen, you're not blind. What are you on about? I wanted to get past you, but you were ignoring me. Me. There's enough room for you to get past. Is there something wrong with your legs? I said the last part slightly patronizingly. Karen, how dare you speak to me like that? Now get out of my way. Her tone and her aggressive sounding voice caught me off guard, and I knew I needed to get away from her before my brain did its annoying switch off thing. Me, timely. Ma'am, Karen, seriously, what's your issue? Are you all that stupid? Me. I have a brain injury and... Karen, like hell you do. Now get out of my way. And then it happened. My eyesight started to blur and I could hear a slight ringing in my head. I couldn't speak and I was trying to move my wheelchair, but my hands were shaking. Karen had gotten some attention from other customers and a staff member. Someone came up beside me and put their hand on my shoulder, which made me flinch and asked me if I was all right, but I couldn't get any words out. Karen, she wouldn't get out of my way, and then she got weird. Staff, there's enough room for you to get past. Now leave before I call security. Karen, yeah, whatever, lady. Have fun with the cripple. And she left the store. The staff member managed to calm me down enough for me to get out. Brain damage, which she seemed to understand. She stayed with me until I was able to get the words out and explained what happened and why I couldn't get the words out. Staff, that's not a problem. My name's Sharon. If you ever see that woman again, you find a staff member and we'll handle it, okay? What she said was not right. I thanked her and left the store to go home. I was a little riled up to continue my shopping. After this happened, I learned a few ways to de-escalate the situation by pretending I don't speak English and saying something random in a different language or coming straight out with a "how about you go fuck yourself instead" in the nicest and happiest voice I can get out. That one usually stops people and sometimes gets a laugh out of them. The moral of the story, don't be a Karen, I guess. Nitpick the dress code? I can do that too. Our junior high dress code was a pain. Most teachers didn't care so long as kids weren't distracting. The principal of the junior high, however, insisted on enforcing every single rule. A friend of mine wore a long-sleeve shirt under a tank top. The principal insisted she couldn't wear the tank top because tank tops were against the dress code, but she couldn't take off the tank top because her shirt was slightly see-through. Another violation. Instead of allowing her to simply wear the tank top over her long-sleeve shirt, she sent her home. I decided this wouldn't stand. I studied every rule in the dress code to prove how stupid it was. I started off small and worked my way up. No open-toed sandals. This one was easy. I wore open-toed high heels. Nothing in the rules against high heels, and the open-toed rule only applied to sandals the way it was written. Shirts must be tucked into your pants. Belts must be worn through belt loops. Knocked out 2 here by wearing a skirt. Skirts, or at least the one I wore, had no belt loops and wasn't considered pants, so I wasn't required to tuck in anything or wear a stupid belt. Backpacks must be plain colored with no pins / excessive accessories. I picked up a briefcase from a resale shop and slapped it with every sticker I could find. Any random logo or inspirational sticker I had laying around got slapped on it. Technically, a briefcase isn't a backpack. No costumes allowed. I verified this. My school considered a costume to be anything only worn for a certain period of time or for a certain reason. If you wore it all day, it was an outfit, not a costume. I abused this one so badly. Once a week, I dressed up as a lawyer, a clown, a hippie, a Shakespearean actor, a superhero, a cameraman, etc. Complete, of course, with as many accessories as I could handle. So long as I never took them off, this made gym class interesting. They weren't considered part of a costume. I ended up letting kids pick out what I would dress as each week. No crazy hairstyles. Kept my hair natural colors, and kept the styles as something that was at least popular at one point. Beehive took forever but was the most satisfying. Bonus points if I could find pictures of adults who were still wearing their hair like that currently. Shirts are not allowed to have logos or print, only patterns and consistent designs. Consistent designs was my loophole here. No print, fine, but consistent print made specifically to look like a design? At this point, the principal was going mad, and she didn't let this one slide. She insisted I change, which I expected. Gym shorts must reach students' knees or as long as their fingertips. Guess whose fingertips reach about 3 below her butt? Me. I went from wearing a shirt that said "bite me" all over it to an outfit that included short shorts, but my shorts were still longer than my fingers. I even offered to change back into my other clothes. At this point in the year, we were almost done with school. Other kids were following my lead, and we were driving the principal mad. I decided to kick it up a bit further. I attacked what should have been the most basic rules. No sunglasses. Rose-colored glasses aren't considered sunglasses because you can easily see through them. Still, the principal jerked them off my face and insisted I wouldn't get them back until the end of the day. No tank tops. I wore a dress with spaghetti straps. It wasn't a shirt, so I wasn't breaking a rule. Belts must be plain with no dangerous materials. Plain it must be, so plain I went. I wore a shoestring as a belt. I wore a braided yarn string as a belt. I even wore a spandex band sewn to my pants as a belt. No Crocs. Crocs are not the only rubber shoe, my friends. I found every off-brand Croc I could get a hold of. Finally, at the end of the year, I wore one of my most outrageous outfits. I wore a see-through dress, think bathing suit cover-up, over leggings and a shirt that barely classified as a t-shirt. I wore shoes with a 4-inch cork heel. I had on fake glasses, no lenses, and a 4-inch wide headband. I wore bangles up to my elbows and anklets on each foot. I had a box to carry my books in that was decorated with blinking battery-powered fairy lights. I walked right up to the principal and gave her a smile. Kids paused to see what would happen. I waited to see what she would say. We'd had this conversation all year. She would point out the rule I broke and I would prove how I didn't. She sighed. Principal, fine. But if even one teacher says you're distracting to the class, you change clothes. We shook on it. Only thing I had to ditch was most of the bangles. They kept clankling while I wrote. In the end, I ended up getting the dress code rewritten and amended, and the principal implemented a new procedure where dress code violations were not sent home. They were noted and students had to wear a piece of duct tape indicating the specific violation. If you forgot a belt, you put a piece of tape on a belt loop. Kids only started to get in trouble after 3 dress code violations in the same week. Since she lightened up on the dress code and how harshly it was punished, she stopped having trouble with kids breaking it all the time. It worked out for everyone.